Welcome to part 2 of building the BrightSky weather app. In the last part, we did some project setup and some stubbing of some files. And in this part, we're going to continue and start building out some functionality. So let's just continue back in our Xcode project. We had created these view controllers, primarily settings and weather, but we never actually stubbed out the views we would need for these controllers. So let's actually create two views here that we're going to leverage for the UI in each of these tabs. And let's hook them up to our controllers, and then we'll jump into getting the user's location, and we'll play it by ear with how long this video ends up getting, and we'll split it up as needed. Also, don't forget to hit that like button. I gotta say it for each video because y'all sometimes don't hit it. So let's continue. So we'll do a Cocoa Touch class. We are gonna subclass UI view, and I'm gonna call this the primary weather view, or maybe current weather view. You can call it whatever you think is best. Our app is called BrightSky, so I will prefix everything BS, no pun intended here. So here we're gonna say BS weather view. Maybe I'll call it B. So we'll do B current weather view. And let's actually drop the B, and perhaps we'll add this later on. Otherwise, it might confuse us along the way. So we'll create this UI view here. We're going to override the initializer and eventually implement this, but let's just override it for now since we do know we want to do it. We'll also mark this as final. And let's create one more class. It's going to be, again, another UI view. And here we'll have our settings view, just like that. Save it where it needs to go. And once more, we can override the initializer with init with frame and super init with frame, passing in frame. Here we'll say background color is red, and in this case, we will say background color is maybe orange. Go ahead and hit Command B, make sure you're able to build. It's gonna actually yell at you because you do need to bring in the init with coder into both of these views. It is a requirement, otherwise you will get yelled at like I am getting yelled at right now, so make sure you bring both of those on in. Also in the initializers, you wanna set the translates auto resizing mask into constraints to false, since we will be using constraints to set up both of these views in the next step in our controllers. So as I mentioned, controllers, let's jump on into here and let's set up these primary views. So we are going to implement these by overriding the load view function. You can alternatively create a view property and add it as a subview to the controller's existing view. Both of those approaches are totally fine. There is no quote unquote right way to go about doing this as long as your view is set up correctly. So I'll show you the latter way that I like doing this because it makes it a little simpler in my opinion. So I'll call this primary view, and our primary view here will be our settings view. We'll get this created, and in view.load, we can say view add subview, our primary view. And the next thing we can do is just set up some constraints. So here we'll say ns layout constraints, and we can activate a collection of constraints. And we basically just want to pin our primary view to the safe area anchors of its super view. So we're going to say primary view top anchor is going to be constraint equal to, and what we want this to be equal to is our view.safe area layout guide top anchor. And you can imagine the other three are going to be very similar. So I like to just copy and paste it. Just be careful as you change up the anchors here, because I myself have screwed this up many times, and it's definitely important that you do match the anchor types left, right, top, and bottom. So cool, we've got this here now. Let's just copy and paste this to our other controller, since we essentially want to do the same thing here. It's going to yell at me because I haven't created that primary view here yet. So we'll say our primary view is our current weather view. Give your project a build and run, and we should see that orange and I believe blue or red view respectively. So cool, we've got our views here. We've got this tab thing working. We've got some icons in place. Let's talk about fetching user location, since in a weather app that is pretty critical. We want to know our current user's location. So if you guys recall, we had created a manager object for this type of business logic, and we creatively called it location manager and imported CoreLocation. So this is where we will do all the fun business of getting the user's location and hanging on to that location, requesting permission, so on and so forth. So we need to access a manager object called CLLocation Got 3 L's there. So we want CLLocation and you can just instantiate it up here like so. And what we'll do is we will introduce a public function and we'll call this getCurrentLocation maybe. We'll say getCurrentLocation, and what we'll end up doing here is, first and foremost, we want to say manager. We want to request when in use authorization. This is to let the user, give your app permission to fetch their location when in use. We want to say that the manager's delegate, which is how the manager corresponds its updates, it's equal to self, and it's yelling at me because we also do need to conform to that delegate protocol. And then finally, we want to say, hey, manager, start updating location. In other words, start listening to the user's location via the GPS because we need that location information. And we're going to leverage a delegate function in the next 10 seconds to get the location and stop listening for location updates. So what we're looking for is location manager, and it's something along the lines of did update location. Let's see if I can find it. So here is did update locations. The first thing we want to do is just get the location object that we have in the inbound array. So we'll say location is locations.first, else we're going to return. And again, locations is an inbound array into this method. And once we have a location object, which has, coordinates off of it, longitude and latitude, we want to preserve the user's battery life, and it's also just good practice not to continuously, listen to their location updates since, we want to value privacy. We're going to say manager, stop updating location, and we can basically stop draining their battery life and listening for updated location. All right, so now that we've got that in place, hit Command B, make sure your app is building. Now, one thing to think about is where on earth in our code are we going to call this location manager's, get current location function? We'll probably want to call it somewhere in our controller or maybe in our weather manager. But the point I want to highlight here is how do we know once we got the current location? Well, it's pretty simple actually. We've got location here. I can say self.location equals location. So we do need to have a private var up here. Location is of type CLLocation optional. And whenever we have set this, whenever this gets assigned to, what we want to do is we want to notify whoever originally called this function. So this function is going to take in a completion handler or closure. It's going to be escaping. And the argument is going to be of type CLLocation, returning void. And what we'll do is before we try to get the location, we are going to say self.location fetch completion will be completion. We want to create this in the global scope. So we'll say this here will be a private mutable closure with the same signature. So here we'll say CLLocation returning void, and this closure is nil by default, hence we're adding a question mark here to make it optional. And once we've assigned to location, we're gonna say guard let L equals location, meaning if we have a location, what we can do is we can call this closure assuming it's not nil. So here with the question mark, we can pass in L just like that. So this might be a little wonky, but this is a common convention and pattern where you can basically hold on to the completion handler since the actual function that's going to invoke the handler is this delegate function by, a byproduct of assigning this location property. So once location is assigned, we unwrap it. You can actually go ahead and shorthand this by doing that, getting rid of that L piece of syntax altogether. And this is how we'll fetch the user's location. So let's jump into our controller, specifically the weather view controller, and let's create a place to call the location fetching code in here. So here we're setting up our view. Let's actually pull this out into another function called setup view. That way we don't keep dumping stuff into view.load, which can undoubtedly get pretty messy. And here we can say get location, and get location is going to be another function here, which will simply call all that code we just wrote. So we'll say location manager, shared, and what we want to do is we want to say get current location. We have this closure, which we get a location in, just like that. And what we'll do is we will print the location. Or what we'll do is we'll print a string describing the location, which is slightly more accurate. So let's give this a build and run in our simulator. We'll see if our simulator cooperates. Otherwise, what we need to do is if you don't see the prompt show up here, you need to actually set up location in your simulator. So here, if we go to features, there's location here. You can see that Apple is selected. Sometimes what you want to do is set that up. Let's see what else is going on. Okay, so we did actually forget to do one thing, and the console is actually telling me you do need to add to your info plist the privacy string that you will be showing the user in the prompt when you request permission. So let's jump into our info plist here. You can also do it in build settings back up here, but I'll choose to do it here. And we will add a new entry, and this new entry will be privacy location when in use description. And we want to give it a string, and we'll do something that's descriptive and helpful to the user. We'll call it please allow location access to see your local weather data. Let's give this a build and run once more. We should see that prompt. Awesome, beautiful. We also see that string we just added. Let's come back up here. We'll expand our console and we'll allow permission. Sure, why not? And just like that, here is the location that we are printing out. Here is a coordinate, basically 37 and negative 122, I should say, longitude and latitude. This is for Apple Park, if I'm not mistaken. So if I go to features here, and perhaps we change this to something like Freeway Drive, wherever that may be, and we give this a run once more, we should see that these coordinates are slightly different. I believe they are, but we will actually find out later on exactly what this location is. So cool deal. We're getting the location. We've set up the views. The next important piece will be to hand this location to our weather manager to fetch the weather information for the given location. Back in our controller, you'll see that here we get the location, and what we'll want to do is inside of here hand this to our weather manager. So if you recall, we already had a function we stubbed out here called get weather for location. So let's just call that in here, and we'll focus on the weather manager in the upcoming video. So we're going to say get weather for location, and we'll just pass in the location like so, and we should be good to go. That is all I've got for this video. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Let me know in the comments if you hit any issues along the way. Happy to help. In the next part, like I said, we'll focus on getting some weather data. And if we do that fast enough, we might even start building out our user interface here. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next part.